how do we dispel our money myths when they show up in our bank accounts?
Moving forward with the Decker team. Moving forward together with the Decker team.
Well, welcome to another episode of Life's Inside Track. I'm Yetta Decker. I'm with Ken Decker.
That's me.
And Suzanne Hart.
Hello.
And she is Mindset Mastery Mentor. And so we thought, what a conversation. Because have you ever noticed that the myths in your life, you don't even know they're there sometimes, except when you explore, you notice that the myths that you've bought into hook, line, and sinker actually have ruined a lot of really good stuff.
Well, those myths are actually beliefs until you recognize them as myths. And then how do I get them out of my mind so they stop affecting my behavior?
Absolutely.
And part of the way we do that is by sharing Life's Inside Track, like another episode where we share techniques, thoughts, and tools and tips that we all need, we all deserve, you, I, everyone. So we turn our house into home, families thrive, and we live the best life possible. And myths are all about dispelling them, is all about living the best life possible.
So Suzanne, how do I was going to say misspell, but I can misspell just about any word. How do I dissolve my myth beliefs?
Well, first of all, you have to know they exist.
Okay.
And for many of us, we relate to our myths as truths. Like they are real. They are the facts. And I think oftentimes when you have been doing something, as they say, over and over again and expecting a different result, that is a great place to look.
Especially if you don't like the result you're getting.
Right, absolutely.
Right. If you like the result you're getting, even if it's a myth, maybe it's working for you.
It's working for you.
Right.
However, if it's not, oftentimes why we're in this circle is what we're doing to get the result is not actually grounded in truth.
It's a lie.
Okay.
So can we talk about a specific example of a money myth? Because this whole conversation is about having a guide on the journey to help to dispel the myths, because often in and of ourselves, we can't see them.
Well, I can tell you my biggest one, big aha was I believed that hard work and a great education was going to have me live happily ever after. It was going to set me free. And I got
that was a myth.
It is. And the reason why when we think of freedom, we think of wealth. Isn't that what we think? Like
I think most
money,
people do.
and
or
money,
the ability to do what you want, when you want, how you want.
Well, let me say this. We think of wealth, but we think wealth is money. Right. And the myth is wealth is not actually money. So I was working really hard for money, and it was coming in this door and going out that door. And I was working, it was coming in, it was going out. But because I didn't have this thing called wealth, which is being able to have your money working for you and money working when you're not working, I was caught in this hustle and grind, wondering, where's the wealth? Where's the money? That's a myth that probably 90% of the population lives by.
And I think for me, a myth I had was as long as I make a lot of money, I'll always have money.
Ooh.
And making a lot of money didn't actually mean I had any money. Because it wasn't about what I earned, it was about what I kept.
Absolutely.
Or what I invested. Really, even bigger. I didn't even get that was a thing. And yet now I've learned that, hey, if you don't do something with the money, even if you keep it in your mattress, it doesn't really do you much good.
Yeah, if your money's not working for you, and that was the thing, like how does money work for you? But if your money's not working for you, it's not
working against
you. Absolutely.
So one of the myths that I had to overcome was I work hard, so I deserve things. And then because I deserve things, as long as I can afford the payment, I can afford the item.
Oh, and underline that. So as long as you can afford the payment, not to pay for it.
No.
Exactly.
The payment. No, I want to make sure everybody gets that.
Yeah, exactly. And then what happened was I worked hard, so I felt I deserved. So I bought things that I felt I deserved, and I thought I could afford the payment. But then what happened was the payment started stressing me out because I had no money to buy the little things that I wanted. And then
Or needed.
I had to work harder.
Yeah.
Because what the other thing they didn't teach me was because when I was paying the payment, that when I was putting on my credit card, I was paying like 26, 21, 28%, depending on which credit card.
Yeah.
And that was making the price of what I bought double or triple
or
as
quadruple
much as the actual item I purchased.
How about the myth that if you don't have credit, right, you can't do much. So you got to build credit. And most people think that building credit is doing exactly what you just talked about. That's how you build your credit.
So how do we dismantle these myths? Because you may have a different myth than the ones we've talked about. We have not enjoyed sharing them with you, and yet know that it was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And so we're going to say, even if you don't enjoy sharing your myth with us, if you've had it identified, I would love to know a couple of things. What was the myth? And how did it become identified?
And
what was the truth? What was the real deal behind, instead of the myth, what was the truth? Because it's also cool to see, how do you get them identified?
Yeah. And I think what's the impact of living in that myth? What's the impact? How's it impacting your life?
How's it show up in your bank account?
Right. That's the impact often.
Yeah.
Often, and in your relationships.
Yeah.
Like we're having a money conversation here, and the value of a guide, because a guide will see what you can't see.
Absolutely.
They'll be able to identify the thing that you think is real and wise and great.
And I think there's a flip side to that coin, because we're kind of talking about spending more than you earn and that kind of belief, and always having a car payment, or I'll always have a mortgage payment or whatever. Or I'll always have credit card debt and I'll never pay my card off. But there's the other side of it. There's people that have money myths that live in fear, and they won't spend any money at all. And it goes into
That was you, Suzanne?
it goes into the bank account.
Right.
And they feel safe because there's money in there, but they still live in fear. So it's not really safe.
So I was a saver who worked really hard, hard work, rat race, saving money, and saving out of fear, because I was the rainy day catastrophe, something gonna happen, gotta have a little bit of money, saver. And all I did was really attract more catastrophe, and money didn't have any joy. It was a source of fear until I busted that myth.
Oh, and you may find this interesting. I kind of wrote a little bit about it in the book, the wealth formula that I wrote. A lot of times that saver attracts a spender.
Yeah, you did that
got
too.
that too, right? Okay, so now your spender sees your bank account and says, "Ooh, that needs to be spent."
You darn tootin'.
And then the fight breaks out, Your Honor, because people start butting heads, because one wants to save and one wants to spend. And it's all built on programming and past history and myths
and values.
and values.
Yeah.
And so some of the best ways to break myths is get a guide, get a mentor, and start reading, because they don't have to be people that are with you listening to podcasts, tuning into another perspective. Because as they share the perspective, you go, I don't believe that. And then you can start to identify the impact of it. Or what's a great thing to do if you're thinking, I need to break through this?
Find somebody that you love their money savviness. They seem to have it put together. Not the person with the most expensive cars that's trying to work overtime to pay for them. But find somebody that has money savviness, ask them out to lunch, and prepare your questions in advance. Value their time, and by the way, pay for lunch.
So we're grateful to be your partners on the journey of wealth and wisdom.
Moving forward with the Decker team. Moving forward together.